os explico la comparación. Bien, hay tres casos. Vamos a utilizar el comparativo, like more expensive than, el superlativo, the most expensive, and equality, as expensive as, to earn as much as, to have as many friends as, right. So, first the comparative, el comparativo. Siempre utilizamos más que o menos que. Um, it's all, when you use a verb or a noun, it's the same. So, for example, he earns more than I do. Gana más que yo. He or I have less CDs than you. Tengo menos discos que tú. Okay, there are some special forms in English: smaller, taller, faster than, but it's the same in Spanish. It's más que, menos que. For example, this house is bigger than mine. Su casa es más grande que la mía. His car is faster than this one. Mi coche, or his, should be su coche, es más rápido que este. Okay. El comparativo, bueno, siempre estamos hablando del comparativo, he dicho más que, menos que, pero cuando utilizamos una cantidad, when you use a quantity, you don't say más que, pero menos o más de. Okay? For example, ¿qué hacemos si hay más de 30 alumnos en clase? Which means, shall we do when there are more than 30 students in the class? Irán, el candidato más moderado, saca más del 50% de los votos. Más de, because there's a number, 50, más de, but you use el before a percentage, so it's más del 50%. En Argentina, más de la mitad de los alumnos terminan en el secundario. Menos de la mitad es half, so it's a quantity, so you use menos de. El superlativo. El dibujo de Ana es el más bonito. O el dibujo más bonito de todos es este. That are the two structures. I think the first one is the same as in English. The second one, in a lot of languages, the most beautiful painting or drawing. So in English you put it before. In French, for example, you use more or less the same structure, but you put here an article in French. You don't do it in Spanish. I'll give you some more examples. De todos los libros, este me parece el más interesante. This is the most interesting, I think. Este verano es el más seco de los últimos 20 años. Is the driest one. Los 3 primeros años son los más importantes de nuestra vida. The first 3 years are the most important of our life. ¿Quién de las tres es la más guapa? Who is the most beautiful one? Okay, it's quite similar as in English. Irán, el candidato más moderado, saca más del 50% de los votos. Okay, so, like we saw before. El país más poblado del mundo es China. ¿Cuál es el animal más peligroso del mundo? El animal más peligroso. The most dangerous animal. Barcelona es la ciudad más bonita que he visto en mi vida. It's the most beautiful town I saw in my life. Okay, there are not that many difficulties, I think, for English speaking people. El superlativo, comparativo. There are 4 irregular forms. We just have a look at them. Bueno. It depends a bit on the sense, because bueno can good can mean in the sense of just good, to be better in the superlativo. Better than would be mejor, the best, el mejor. But it can mean also well behaved, and in Spanish, and then you say más bueno, not mejor. Mejor is just better. Okay? Más bueno o el más bueno, por ejemplo, en la frase, ¿quién es el más bueno de la clase? Who is well behaved, who is the I don't know in English, the wellest behaved? No, I don't know. But I hope you understand what I mean. Malo. Malo, which means bad, and worse, superlativo, es peor in English. So the worst, el peor. For example, ahora la situación es peor que antes. It's worse than before situation. But malo can mean also, for example, naughtier than. In that case, you use not peor, but más malo, or el más malo, the naughtiest. Eres aún más malo que tu hermano, for example. Two other forms, grande. Grande can mean older, to be old. In that case, older than is mayor, or el mayor. ¿Cuántos años tiene tu hermano mayor? Your older brother. But grande can mean also just big. So bigger than is más grande. El más grande, the biggest. La terraza del Hotel Universal es el más grande, o es más grande que la del Hotel Pelayo. And it's a bit the same for pequeño. Pequeño can mean young, so younger than is menor, and can mean also smaller, más pequeño we use than. Okay. Most difficulties are when you use equality, la igualdad, because there are three cases in that case. When you compare a verb, for example, to earn as much as someone else, you can compare an adjective, for example, to be as rich as someone else, or a noun, to have, for example, as many CDs as someone else. Okay, so there are three different cases, and in English it's the same structure, more or less, but not in Spanish. Okay, let's have a look. Equality. When you compare a verb, it's always with tanto como. Okay, it doesn't change. For example, I earn as much money as Pedro. Gano tanto como Pedro. Tanto como, because you are speaking about a verb. My daughter sleeps as much as I do. Mi hija duerme tanto como yo. To sleep as much, tanto como. He doesn't work as much as us. Luca no trabaja tanto como nosotros. Okay, you could say also, it's another structure, Luca and Mateo earn the same. In Spanish, you should say ganan igual. Okay, or you could say Luca gana tanto como Mateo, or Luca y Mateo ganan igual. Okay, that's when you use a verb, or when you compare a verb. It could be also an adjective. For example, Paco is as intelligent as his father. Paco es tan inteligente como su padre. In that case, you always use tan como. Okay? It doesn't change. Always tan. Tan inteligente como, tan caro como, tan simpático como. So I'll give some examples. The exam, just an error. The exam was not as difficult as last year. El examen no era tan difícil como el año pasado. Tan como. cuidado, when you want to say the music was not so good, it's almost the same structure. You can say la música no era tan buena. In fact, you could say the music was not so good, was not as good as I expected, for example, it was not as good as last year. La música no era tan buena como pensaba o como el año pasado. Okay, but you can just use the first part. It's quite often they do it. So la música no era tan buena. I didn't like it that much. Or like I said before, Luca and Matteo are equally likable. Luca y Matteo son igual de simpáticos. Son igual de. You use when you use an adjective. Don't confuse it with Luca y Matteo no son tan simpáticos. No son tan simpáticos, in fact, means they are not that likable. They are not that likable. It's not the same as they are equally likable. Okay, so igual de, equally, or tan, which means so or that. Okay, the last one is when you compare a noun. You know, a noun has feminine or masculine or singular plural, so you will have to adapt tanto. Right? When you say, for example, Paco has as much money as Luca. Paco tiene tanto dinero como Luca. Tanto because dinero masculino y singular. Pero he has as many friends as Luca. You should say, Paco tiene tantos amigos como Luca. Tantos. Or when you talk about beers, una cerveza, entonces no hay tantas cervezas como en Bélgica. Or luck, which means suerte, la suerte. So I don't have as much luck as you have. No tengo tanta suerte como tú. So, don't forget, because I didn't say it before, that when you compare, comparativo es más que o menos que, and when it's equally, it's always como, tan o tanto o tantas como. Okay. Right. So let's have a look at the summary. Comparativo, más que, menos que. Quantity, menos de, más de. Superlativo, este reloj es el más barato que tenemos. It is the cheapest one we have. Este es el reloj más barato que tenemos. It's the cheapest, how to say that, watch we have. And equality, there are three cases. So verb, it's always tanto, it doesn't change. Gano tanto como mi padre. Adjective, it's always tan. No soy tan inteligente como tú, doesn't change. And noun, here you have to have a look at the noun. So tengo tanto dinero. It doesn't work with amigo. But tengo tantos amigos. You could say tengo tantos amigos como él, o tengo tantas amigas como él. Okay, that was it.